When most of us picture Iran, we think of these beautiful, shimmering mosques, right? Or maybe bustling bazaars and ancient poetry. But behind that incredible facade, there are these other stories, stories that have been hidden for centuries. They're connected to some really unsettling rituals, forgotten catastrophes, and even places where the land itself seems to hold a grudge. So come on, let's start digging. Let's get into the secrets that are lying just beneath the surface of Iran.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head for what we're talking about. In Iran, history isn't something you just go look at behind a velvet rope. No, it's this tangible thing that just kind of seeps up from the ground. It's a constant reminder that every single step you take is on top of thousands of years of human drama.
A great way to think about the country is as a palimpsest, like one of those ancient manuscripts where they'd scrape away the old text to write something new, but you could always see these faint traces of what was there before. Well, to really get Iran, you can't just read that top layer. You have to dig down, uncovering the cities that were built on the bones of older cities and temples built right on the ruins of even older temples.
All right, so for our first stop, we're going to start on the surface. We're going to places where the land itself seems to breathe stories, where the actual geology has given birth to some really unsettling beliefs and, honestly, some astonishing rituals.
So imagine you're out in the sun-scorched desert near the city of Yazd. You see these two low, kind of unassuming stone hills. If you didn't know any better, you'd think they were nothing special. But for centuries, these were the sites of one of the most unique funerary practices in all of human history.
See, for the Zoroastrians, who follow one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, earth, fire, and water were sacred, absolutely sacred. You couldn't defile them with a dead body. So, burial? Unthinkable. Cremation? A huge sin. And putting a body in water? Totally out of the question. The only solution they had was what's called a sky burial. The body was placed up on the tower, and within just a few hours, vultures would descend and perform the final act, leaving nothing but clean bones behind.
What's wild is how this ancient tradition just collided head-on with the modern world. I mean, this isn't some medieval custom we're talking about. There are people alive today who remember seeing this. But as cities expanded and pesticides became more common, the vulture population just plummeted. There simply weren't enough birds to do the job anymore. That, plus an official government ban, forced the community to adapt. So today, they use concrete-lined graves. It's a compromise, a way to keep the body from touching the sacred earth.
So from a ritual of the dead, we move to a place the living are terrified of. High up in the mountains of northeastern Iran, there's this abandoned village called Kanatem. I mean, it looks like a lot of other ruins, crumbling mud brick houses. But this place has a reputation. And the locals, they will not go anywhere near it after the sun goes down.
And this, right here, is a perfect example of what we're exploring. The local legend is genuinely terrifying. A holy man, a dervish, was denied water, and so he cursed the village with his dying breath. But science offers a totally different, but just as fascinating explanation. Turns out the village sits right on top of a geological fault that leaks sulfurous gases. And if you breathe in enough of those gases, they can cause headaches, paranoia, even hallucinations. The Earth itself is creating the perfect scenery for a horror story.
Okay, so we've looked at the surface. Now we're leaving it behind and we are going down, deep down, into the literal underworld. We're about to explore the hidden cities and secret chambers that were carved deep inside the earth. Back in 2004, a guy was just digging a well in his yard when the ground gave way and he fell right into this, Nushabad, a 1,500-year-old underground city. But this wasn't a tomb. This was a massive, incredibly complex shelter designed to save entire communities from the constant threat of invasion and slaughter. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, the city has 3 levels, and it reaches a depth of 18 meters. That's almost 60 feet underground. And every bit of it, the tunnels, the rooms, the ventilation shafts, it was all painstakingly carved out of the rock by hand. It's just an incredible feat of engineering that was born from pure, desperate necessity.
Someone who explored the city described the feeling perfectly. Just imagine, you're standing in absolute darkness, and you know that the normal world, houses, streets, is right there, just above your head. But you're in a completely different, ancient, and silent reality. It's somehow both beautiful and absolutely terrifying.
You really have to understand, this was a fortress born from sheer terror. The people who built this lived in constant fear. The tunnels, for instance, are deliberately cramped to force any invaders to stoop over, which would make them really easy targets. There are hidden pits and dead ends, all designed to trap and kill intruders. But maybe the most powerful thing ever found down there was a single small leather sandal.
And it's just this haunting reminder that this wasn't just a military base. It was a place where parents dragged their kids into the dark, just praying to save their lives.
From a refuge for the living, we now go even deeper into a realm of the dead. In a different part of Iran, a group of spelunkers discovered a cave system, and inside one of the chambers, they found dozens and dozens of human skulls, all neatly arranged along the walls, and they date back 7,000 years.
Now, a lot of these skulls showed signs of something called trepanation, which is an ancient surgery where a hole is literally drilled into a person's head. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Some of the skulls show clear signs that the bone grew back around the holes. That means the patients survived the operation 7,000 years ago. With no modern anesthesia, no sterile tools, someone was performing successful brain surgery.
Our last underground stop takes us beneath the streets of Hamadan, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Back in the Middle Ages, waves of plague just devastated the city. There were way too many dead to bury properly, so the authorities dug these massive pits outside the city walls. Over time, the city grew, and new neighborhoods were built directly on top of these anonymous mass graves. The modern city is literally standing on the bones of its own past.
And that brings us to our final excavation. This is where all those layers of history, all those secrets, collide with an urgent, modern crisis. Because the ultimate secret being hidden underground today, well, it isn't ancient. It's a catastrophe happening in slow motion, right now as we speak.
And I mean that literally. This is not a metaphor. Across huge areas of the country, the land is just sinking. The cause? The catastrophic depletion of underground aquifers. For decades, water has been pumped out of the ground so much faster than it can naturally be replenished, and now the Earth is just collapsing into the empty space left behind.
This chart really puts the problem into shocking perspective. We all hear about Venice sinking, right? That's at a rate of about 0.2 centimeters per year. Mexico City is a famous example. It's sinking at 9 centimeters a year. But in the suburbs of Tehran, the ground is dropping by 30 centimeters. That's nearly a foot every single year. It is one of the fastest rates of subsidence anywhere on the planet.
So why is this happening? Well, here's your answer. Over 700,000 water wells, many of them illegal, are basically sucking the lifeblood from beneath the country. And this is an irreversible process. Once that ground sinks, the structure of the soil is destroyed for good. The earth will not rise back up.
And this is where our whole story comes full circle. This sinking ground is cracking roads, pipelines, buildings. It's threatening ancient monuments that have stood for millennia. And in what is a truly nightmarish scenario, scientists are warning that this subsidence could actually crack open the very earth that seals those medieval plague pits we just talked about, exposing the past in the most gruesome way you could possibly imagine.
From cursed villages to hidden cities, we've seen that Iran is a land that's defined by both geological and historical restlessness. It's a civilization built on thousands of layers of history, of survival, of secrets. But the question that now haunts its future is a totally new one. What happens when the very ground that holds all of those layers simply gives way?